Alright guys, and welcome to my Affliction Warlock PvE DPS guide for Wrath of the Lich King Classic. Just to clarify guys, this is a quick overview of all of the essentials that you need to know to get ready for raiding. If you have more specific questions, go and check out your class discords, or we'll leave them linked in the description. These are the topics we're going to cover: talents and glyphs, professions, stat priority, Pre-Bis and Bis gear, enchants and gems, consumes, the rotation, how to actually deal damage, and lastly we'll cover some macros and weak auras I'd recommend. So when it comes to talents, this is the best talent build for optimal DPS that you can get. Later when you get more hit gear, you can take points out of suppression and put them into improved life tap if you want. All these glyphs are also optimal for DPS, and when it comes to minor ones, just pick what you want because they are just utility glyphs. For professions, if you want to get the most DPS, you go engineering and tailoring. You can swap tailoring to dual crafting later when epic gems are unlocked, but at that point, is it really worth it? You may as well just stick with tailoring, unless you really want to get dual crafting to make money with dual crafting. Now here's a stat priority. First of all, we want to get the hit cap. Now this is 10% with suppression maxed, Spriest and Boomkin debuff and the Draenei buff. It's 11% for Horde without the Draenei buff, providing you have a Shadow Priest or a Boomkin in the group. And then it's 14% without any buffs or any debuffs, and that can potentially happen sometimes in 10-mans. Don't guarantee that you're always going to have a Spriest or a Boomkin in the group. They're not exactly the most popular class in RAP. My advice is always to just have enough gear to get 14% because you don't know what kind of composition you're going to be in. Now guys, when it comes to picking your pre-raid bis, your phase 1 bis, then your gems and your enchants, I'd recommend just downloading the add-on Loon Best in Slot. As you can see, it will give you all the pre-bis gear for every single spec in the game, and obviously your best in slot gear too, and obviously where to get it. Bear in mind that sometimes the pre-bis loot is for some reason on the phase 1 bis list, and all the best gems and enchants and what slots to get it in. By the way guys, no bis list with enchants and gems on it is going to be perfect for absolutely every single player. You really need to be simming your character on WoW sims, because for instance it might not be best in slot to go for a particular gem socket bonus, so I'll leave a link to that in the description. Should always be simming your character to get more precise and accurate results. Now for consumes, so for your flask, you want Flask of the Frostworm. You can just cheese it with a Fish Feast for Affliction Warlock, or get a Tender Shovel Tusk steak if no one has a Fish Feast. You want a Potion of Wild Magic for your pre-pop, talk more about that later, and then a Potion of Haste for later when you're in combat and you pop that with a Bloodlust. You also want a Flame Cap. Weirdly, the Flame Cap, because it increases your spell power of fire spell power, your pet then takes the stat of your biggest spell power stat, so it does technically increase the demon's either spell power or attack power. You also want to increase your pet damage with Spiced Mammoth Treats, and you want your Spell Stone, not the Fire Stone, on your weapon. And if you obviously have engineering, you have Goblin Sapper charges available. So let's talk about how to actually deal damage as an Affliction Warlock. First of all, make sure you got all your buffs up and all the essentials. So this is obviously Fell Armor, your Life Tap buff with the glyph, and obviously your Spellstone. You want to be using your Potion of Wild Magic as your pre-pop. So if you use it before the fight starts, you will be able to use another potion later in the fight. To open combat, if there's no other Warlock in the group, you want to actually be Shadow Bolting to get the Shadow Mastery debuff before you use Corruption or any of your dots. That's because it will increase the damage of your dots, particularly Corruption. So your next priority after doing that initial Shadow Bolt is Corruption, Unstable Affliction, then Curse of Agony, and then you're going to use Haunt, and you want to keep all of your dots up constantly, and also your Haunt debuff. And also, obviously, you want to keep your Life Tap spell power buff up. And if you've got absolutely nothing to do after all your buffs and debuffs are up, that is when you use Shadow Bolt as a filler, basically. Now, when the boss is below 25%, that is when you replace Shadow Bolt with Drain Soul. You should still carry on reapplying your dots if your dot is going to do its full duration. If it's not, then just keep draining soul. And you should be recasting Drain Soul when you get new buffs, like a spell power buff from your trinket for instance. There's no ramp up time really when it comes to Drain Soul. The second you cast it, you are dealing damage, so you're not losing DPS by recasting it, so take advantage of all of those snapshot moments. Now we also need to talk about Corruption rolling. In short, if you cast a Corruption with a crit buff at the start of the fight, like the Wild Magic Potion, that Corruption will believe and act as if it's still buffed by that crit buff for the whole fight, providing you keep Corruption refreshed with Shadow Bolt or Drain Soul, and this happens automatically when you cast a Drain Soul or Shadow Bolt with the Everlasting Affliction talent. It will also roll over percentile buffs like Tricks of Betrayed from a rogue, but not haste or spell power. Big brain warlocks will actually swap out trinkets and crit weapons at the start of a fight to really optimize that corruption damage. Again, check out the Warlock Discord for more information on that. Now guys, for weak auras and macros, I've made a behemoth list of all the best macros and weak auras that every single class can get in the game when it comes to raiding. Pretty much everything really. As you can see, I've got it for every single class here. All you have to do to get access to this is subscribe to the channel, go to my sub-only trailer, and then click the link in the description. But anyway guys, my name is MetaGoblin. Until my next video, ciao.